Hey everybody, 1985 Detroit Tigers season replay. Today we begin the divisional previews for the 1985 season. If you are new to the series or you're new to the channel, we began this series 5 seasons ago in 1980, the 1980 Detroit Tigers season replay. And the whole concept of this was to take the first year that Sparky Anderson was the manager for a full season for Detroit and try to duplicate or exceed what he did as manager for the Tigers. Now, we know that the Tigers in real life went to the World Series in 1984 and won over the San Diego Padres. And so ultimately, I had really hoped that by 1984 in this sim, we would get to the World Series and be the winners. Unfortunately, we did not win the World Series last year in the sim. We did make it to the World Series, but lost to the Mets. So we were not capable of completing the goal in the right amount of time. Now, this being the 6th season, it will be the final season for our sim. I found that in playing Baseball Mogul, since 2002 in real life, I've sort of learned that it takes about 6 years to clean out all the gunk contracts that the game gives players initially when you start up, like we had in the 1980 season. So this year, I almost feel like will be the first real true example of how well I've done as a manager and as a general manager, because a lot of the games, Drek has sort of weeded itself out. That's the way that I view it anyway. However, we are going to wrap this sim up after the 1985 season, which we are just now getting ready to begin on April 1st. And before we start the season, I like to go through and do this divisional preview where we'll take a look at each individual team in the division. We'll take a look at the transactions that took place in the offseason, and then we'll take a look at that team's actual roster to see how it shapes up heading into this final year. So what I like to do is I like to break it down going by the leader of the division and then going to the worst team. So normally we'd start out with Detroit, but I kind of want to save Detroit for last because it's going to be the one that we spend the most time on, since that is the team we are doing for the sim here. So we're going to begin with the Boston Red Sox, who were 94-68 last year. Had a great year, did give us a run for our money down the stretch. So we're going to switch over to Boston. There they are. And I know that the logos are not correct for some of these teams. I cannot update the logos until I complete our 1970 Seattle Pilots sim, which should end in about 8 games. So once that's over, and then prior to the beginning of this league, I will update the logos so that they are accurate to 1985. Okay, so let's take a look here at the transactions that the Red Sox did at the end of the 84 season. So the World Series ends in October, and then we have the free agent market begin. So the Red Sox only made technically 3 transactions to end the year. They re-signed Dickie Thon, their shortstop, to a 2-year extension, and Rick Grapenthin, a no-name reliever who's actually performed really well in our sim. And then Clint Hurdle won arbitration and got awarded some big money, and he will likely remain in right field. We'll have to take a look at the roster momentarily. And Marty Barrett won the Gold Glove at second base, which, good job by him. So we're going to flip it to the 85 season, and they've made 1 trade. They have not signed any more free agents. They made 1 deal where they got the catcher from Kansas City, Don Slaught, who is an excellent offensive catcher, for a couple of low-level minor league players, Mark Petkovsik and Craig Worthington. So that's a pretty good trade. That's got to be a big trade in favor of the Red Sox. So, I mean, as far as like transactions go, they did not do very many things after the World Series ended. So that's not going to be the case for a lot of the teams that we're going to look at. We're going to then flip over to the roster for the Red Sox, and we'll get a look at what they're trying to do here with their team. Okay, well, so it looks like they've kept everybody the same and added Don Slaught. Why do I feel like they've lost players, but they weren't showing in the transactions, right? What are we missing here? Let's go all types. Sorry, let me just check here real quick. Yeah, because they had Dennis Littlejohn as their catcher, and it doesn't show. It doesn't show that they let him go. Let's see. Nope, there's nothing to. Okay, well, you know what? That's just the way it is. Maybe it's just a glitch, which would not surprise me. So you'll see here that they basically have the same strong lineup from last year, and they added Don Slaught, who had 108 RBIs, batted right around 300, as we just saw from Kansas City. They've still got Wade Boggs, who batted 333. This Lachelle Tarver guy batted 330 with 46 stolen bases. Last year, the Red Sox, Fenway Park certainly was conducive to a lot of offense. I've already done my mathematical equation for the ballpark effects, and looking at Boston, left-handed hitters have a 22% more likely chance to hit home runs, and there's a 15% more chance to get doubles in Fenway Park. So maybe that's why the lefties last year did so well. That holds over to this season. But you'll see a lot of names here that were from the team last year. The only different one is Don Slaught, who, as I mentioned, took over for Dennis Littlejohn, I believe. Gino Petralli got traded to this team last year, and he lost his job. John Stearns, he's going to be the backup. You'll see Rick Burleson, Willie Aikens, Bill Pecota. Fred Lynn can't find a job in center field anymore. Jim Rice is down in AAA. There's JT that we traded over to the Red Sox way back in, I don't know, the 81 season. These are all the stats from last year, and we can scroll down. Take a look here at their up-and-coming players, and I just kind of take a random, look at the ratings and see if anybody here is rated over 80. I mean, Ivan Calderon, he got 400 at-bats in 82. In 83, it was a lot less. And here we are in 1980. And in the 84 season last year, he didn't play at all. And this year, he's in AA. So it doesn't look like he's going to get much of a shot. But, regardless, they don't really have many players that I get kind of excited about here. I mean, Mike Kingery and this Matthias Carrillo, I don't know who that is, but nonetheless, they are going to be the only good players in their minor league system. Now, before we look at the pitchers, I just kind of want to point out a couple of things that I do for the game every year. I go through and I add all the most current cards for every player. And so these are the 1985 Topps cards. Those are the cards that I chose to go with to represent players who played from 84 going into the 85 season, the players who had the cards. If for some reason the card did not look right in the place where I pulled the card from, I went with the 85 Fleer or the 85 Donruss. Some of these players were in the minor leagues, so like Dodson, for example. And in that case, I just used whatever most current minor league card. Then someone like Lloyd McClendon wasn't even in the majors yet, did not have a card, and so I went with whatever his rookie card looked like. I believe this is an 88 Flair. I could be wrong. There's Don Slott's card. He was with the Rangers. Now, I really enjoy taking the time to go through and try to manipulate the cards to represent the real team. But the 85 card set is so difficult. I did try to, switch the cards over to, say, Red Sox and maybe get the logo in there. I just couldn't get it done. I couldn't get the editing to look right. I couldn't get the font to look right. And so I just scrapped that idea and went with whatever the best option was. I mean, Dickie Thon is on the Astros in real life. In 1985, there's Marty Barrett. So all the cards are going to be whatever the most current card is. If the Topps card was not good enough to use, I used the Canadian version, the O-Pee-Chee card. It's the same card, it just doesn't have the Topps logo. So anyway, you get the point. And you'll see more of that when the season gets started, and we can look at each player in their lineup. We're going to take a look here now at the Boston Red Sox rotation. This is a team that suffered a lot of injuries last year, and they've really had to make adjustments on the fly. I don't know if this team spends enough money on the health, keeping their players healthy and ready to go. And they just kept rotating Dana Kicker and Al Nipper, Mike Chris, former Detroit Tiger. He got 200 innings last year with a sub-4 ERA, won 15 games, and he's going to start in the minor leagues. There's Joaquin Andahar. They certainly have some depth, but I think Oil Can Boy just had his first full season. His second full season, I guess, as he's wearing the cool shades. There's Dana Kicker, is the number 2 pitcher. Bob Ojeda, Al Nipper, and Bruce Hurst. So those are their 5 rotation guys. Dennis Eckersley's their closer. That makes a lot of sense, of course. Randy St. Clair, Rick Grapenthin, Mike Trujillo, and Brad Moore. And John Tudor, who started all season, is going to be put into long relief. He had 200. He actually led the team in innings pitched, and for that he gets demoted to long relief. We look at their minor league team. John Lester, Danny Parks. He gave up the most home runs ever by a pitcher in a season. Oh no, that was the guy for the Indians. That's my bad. Joaquin Andahar they have in case they need some depth. We just scroll down here. John Dobson's got an 88 in Double-A. It's hard to believe they can't find a spot for him. Steve Ellsworth. And some rest are just kind of schlubbersons. So, I mean, I feel like this is a team that definitely can win the division. The offense is great. The pitchers, their ERAs were kind of high last year, but I would imagine that they probably have a couple good years left in each of these pitchers. I mean, they're all young, right? Let's take a look. Oil Can Boyd is 25. Kicker's 24. Ojeda's 27. Al Nipper's 25. And Bruce Hurst is 26. So, as I was saying before, it takes like 6 seasons to kind of wipe out the Drek. And now you have, for Boston, all 5 starters under 30 years old. So that's probably the right thing. I think the game is unfortunately designed this way where it really suffers for some teams to get rid of their initial contracts. So Boston, who went 94 and 68, they finished second. Third place team was the Yankees. They finished 90 and 72. So let's take a look here at the New York Yankees. Oh, I think we'll go do their transactions first. It's going to take me a minute to get in the groove. We're going to do the Yankees. There they are. Okay, yeah, so they had a few more transactions at the end of the year. Looks like they re-signed Ron Hassey, Joe LaFave, Mickey Hatcher, Ron Davis the pitcher, Bucky freaking Dent, Rick Cerrone, Bob Horner, and yes, at the end of the year in November, they signed our pitcher, Jack Morris, to a 5-year deal worth $1.7 million for, 5 years. Jack Morris, our biggest nemesis. We could not afford to pay him. We were lucky to even just re-sign some of the players that were on our roster. And we'll talk more about that. But yes, Jack Morris did sign with our division rival. And then they traded for Kevin Romberg from Baltimore, who I believe won a Gold Glove last year. He had some really great numbers for Baltimore. And so he's a left fielder. And they traded away Paul Sorrento and a schlub catcher. So that was the only trade they did in the offseason right after the new year. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the Yankees lineup. Here we are. Leadoff man is Otis Nixon. He got injured for a great period of the season last year. Still managed to have 29 stolen bases coming off an 84 stolen base year. Willie Randolph will be the second baseman. Fritzy Connolly, as the Yankees went through like 3 third basemen last year. Looks like they settled on Connolly and gave him a long-term deal. Danny Tartable's out and right. Former Tiger Nelson Simmons is their DH. Steve Kemp still hanging in there, age 30. He's the left fielder. Dennis Worth will get the job at first. Ron Hassey back there at catcher. And Ozzie Smith is the shortstop for the Yankees. That's pretty incredible. So there's your lineup for the Yanks. Not a ton of, nobody's over 20 home runs. If we look at their stadium effects, home runs for lefties is 28% more likely. And they have only 2 lefties in the lineup and 3 switch hitters. And Otis Nixon and Ozzie Smith are not going to hit home runs. That's probably how they got there too. So Yankee Stadium, not really good for much, actually. It's not for right-handers with home runs, and not for lefties or righties with hits. They're 5 and 6% below league average. So there's Joe LaFave re-signed, Bucky Dent re-signed, Dave Sachs is the backup catcher. I think actually they platoon between Hassey and Sachs. There's your left fielder, Kevin Romberg, but he's not going to take the job from Steve Kemp unless they platoon there as well. And Rupert Jones. So they have 3 outfielders on the bench. That doesn't make sense. Only 1 infielder and 1 catcher. So I don't know how they're going to make that work. But if you look at the minor league system, they have nothing but big names. All they do is re-sign and sign free agents that are, big names like Lee Mazzilli, Oscar Gamble, Steve Balboni, Bob Horner. They re-signed Mickey Hatcher, stuck him in Double-A. Claudel Washington still holding on. Rick Cerrone. So this is an example of a team that hasn't quite cleaned out their minor league system. Like I said, they typically do at this point. And because the Yankees have the highest payroll in the league, they spend money so freely that they just keep re-signing players just to have players they don't even need. Don Mattingly, and it's 1985, is in the minor league system in Single A. So yeah, it's a bad, this team is not a good example of the way the league should be set up. He's a Bruce Robinson at 59, 67, 65. There's no reason for this Yankee team to keep anybody below 70 because they can just go out and trade for someone. Having said that, this is a pretty solid looking offense. They did not have one player who had 100 RBI last year. And so I don't know if they will again this year. They could certainly win the division or finish, second, possibly even third. So they are a top tier team in our division just based on their hitting. Let's take a look at the pitchers. Oh man, I don't even want to see Jack Morris in this rotation. Look at what this team has done. All they do is go out there and trade and sign big names, just like in real life. So they've got Bob Tewksbury, who has become their ace. And the great thing about this guy is he doesn't walk anybody. He didn't walk anybody for 92 innings in the majors, and then finally he walked 13 last year, which is kind of accurate to what he did in real life. So I have to give the game some credit there. But the way the game works is that if you do not walk people, the game forces you to give up hits to get your whip up there, right? So he gave up 319 hits last year, which is absurd. So there's Bob Tewksbury. He is the staff ace. Stefan Weaver, still hanging in there. He did suffer some injuries. You can see how good he's been since he was a rookie in our very first season. He went 14-1. I mean, unstoppable. But it looks like you can see his ERA has increased, and maybe he's finally slowing down. There's Jack. He went 10-6 for us. He suffered some injuries. He didn't really pitch great. And, I would love to have kept him. Like I said, we just never could afford that salary. So we just cut him loose at the end of the year. We rode him all the way into the World Series. You'll see in the World Series, he went 2-1 for us with a 3.12 ERA, which is really impressive. But, we just couldn't afford it. So, unfortunately, Jack is gone, and he's stayed in division. Roger Slagle, another one of those guys from the 1980 season, at least he had 1 game, 2 innings of pitching before our sim began. And he's been nothing but fantastic up until last year, where he had, for the first time ever, was below 500. Good ERA. And then Steve Rogers, who the Yankees signed as a free agent. He's their number 5 starter. This is the Expos all-time leading wins leader. And he's ended up on the Yankees, and he'll hold down that 5th spot all year. He's only got an 81 overall rating, but I don't think you can do too much better than Rogers, who I'm sure in some teams would be an ace. So we'll take a look here at the bullpen. Kurt Kaufman is their closer. He has been for years. Somehow he is a real player. You may probably just never heard of him. Represented there on California. And then we have Dave Righetti, who was also a closer. And Goose, also a closer. Steve Fry. Ron Davis, who they just re-signed. Scott Nielsen. And that closes out their pitching staff. So this is potentially, if Weaver and Slagle pitch like they should pitch, like they have pitched, this is a staff that's going to be pretty hard to beat. Their bullpen is just lights out. You look at their AAA team, there's Bryn Smith, Jim Deshea, Ron Guidry, Scott Sanderson. You could make up a whole rotation with the guys that they have in AAA and start a new club, and they would be a 500 team, Bryn Smith went 7-17 last year. I think that was between 2 clubs, though. Yeah, he started on the Rangers and got traded to the Yankees. Didn't fare much better at all. You could see we gave him a go. Didn't work out. They still got Milt Wilcox in Double-A, Andy McGaffigan. They have people they can go to if they need to for this season. When you go deeper into Single-A ball, I mean, they don't really have any big names here that you could get excited over when you're a good team like the Yankees for all 5 years. You get later draft picks. You're not getting top-notch options to fill out your team. But they can go out and sign it, and they can go make trades. So there's the Yankees. Like I said, this is a second or third place team with maybe a 5% chance to win the division. Okay, next up is the Baltimore Orioles. They finished fourth, just under 500 at 79 and 84. Let's pull up Baltimore, and we'll look at their transactions. Yeah. Okay. What did Baltimore do at the end of the year? Wow. Okay, so now Baltimore, just like in our Seattle Pilots sim, they are terrible with their payroll. And often they'll finish in the red. And when you finish in the red, you can't sign free agents. You can only re-sign players who are arbitration eligible. Well, they somehow managed to finish with $300,000, which meant they could go out and spend wildly on their own team and other free agents. I don't know why this game is not showing the free agent signings. It's definitely missing some things here. I don't. Yeah, there's signed as a free agent last year. So maybe they did sign a couple free agents. All right, forget what I don't know. It's weird. I just want to scroll up and see. I don't see it. Okay, anyway, let's stick to the story here. So at the end of the year, after the World Series, Ken Pape retired. This little weirdo. He got some gameplay for Seattle and 1 year in Baltimore. And then he was just a September call-up kind of guy. So he won't be missed. But the Orioles re-signed Bruce Sutter, Jose Lind, Sammy Stewart, Luis De Leon, Bob Pate, Jeff Schneider, John Castino, Len Sakata, and Jimmy Sexton. They won arbitration versus Tim Stoddard and lost it versus their catcher, Ray Smith. Kevin Romberg won the Gold Glove, so I was right. And then, of course, they traded him to the Yankees. And then they did make 2 free agent signings. They signed free agent pitcher David Palmer to a 4-year, $1 million deal. And also they signed former Tiger Chet Lemon to a 4-year, $660,000 deal. We'll flip it over to the 85 season, and there's that Kevin Romberg trade that we already saw, where he went to the Yankees for a couple of Schlubbersons. So let's see, what did they do for left field? We'll go ahead and take a look at their lineup. Yeah, this is a team that has really fallen on hard times. They basically screwed themselves by spending wildly with their payroll, and they've had to trade off most of their good assets. So we'll take a look at who they're dealing with now. Their DH is Dave Stegman. He's bounced around. We even had him on our team when the Sim series started. He had one decent year in Chicago, but this is a guy that gets injured all the time. Tommy Herr is their second baseman. He had his first full year as an Oriole last year. Lavelle Freeman is a rookie. He will get the left field job now that Romberg is gone. So he's got great speed, very slightly above average power, slightly above average contact. Defensively, he is terrible. His rating is a 62 in left field, so that is a certain liability. Then they have Jim Traber, who hit 37 home runs. I believe that was good for second in the American League to the eventual MVP, Kevin Mitchell. But he put up some good numbers. I mean, batted only .247. And actually, in real life, in '85, he was a rookie, so he's got a little bit of a head start in his career. And then there's Bob Pate. Came over from Seattle last year and is very consistent. No reason to think he couldn't do the same thing he did last year. Ray Smith no longer has a Major League Baseball card. He was on the Twins. He got traded over here to the Orioles way back in the day. And he's, basically their everyday catcher. And he's on the block. Wayne Krenchicki is going to be their starting third baseman. I think he actually platoons with John Castino. There's Rick Manning in center field. Another Oriole player that suffered injuries. Bob Bonner is the shortstop. It's not Cal. Ripken is on, I think, the A's, maybe on their bench or something. Bob Bonner is their shortstop. Okay, we'll take a look here at the rest of their bench. They got Kevin Kennedy as their backup. Steve Lombardozzi is their backup infielder. Chet Lemon, he can play all three outfield positions, right? Yeah, so unfortunately on this team, he's the fourth outfielder, but I don't think he's offering much more than that. Alan Bannister can play second base. Also, he's been like their starting DH almost every year. And John Castino, as I mentioned. I'm sure we'll get half the at-bats at third. Oh, and they have a deep bench. They have Drungo Hazelwood, who did not play in the majors last year. And then all of their minor league system is just schlubs that are still hanging on. Doug DeCinces, great third baseman in his time, but he's pretty much toast now. There's Len Cicada, John Shelby. Look at all these. Jim Leyritz. He's good enough to be in AAA above Dave Huppert, but I guess not. Andres Galarraga with a 64. He just couldn't make it happen in this sim. Jose Lind, there we go. Hal Morris, that's a hopeful player. He's in single A. He was a good major league hitter. Charlie Hayes. Glenn Allen Hill, these are not the worst players you've ever heard of. There's Paul Sorrento, who they traded for. So, yeah, Sorrento and Hal Morris fighting for the same job. I guess they don't have terrible players in the minors, but they don't have any money to spend on, creating a better minor league system, spending it on their health. They just don't have anything. I don't know how this team finished fourth. I feel like Toronto will absolutely jump this team this year. So, yeah, they're middle of the pack. Fourth place would be a wish for them, I think. We'll take a look at their pitchers. That will tell us more. So, yeah, here's their rotation, and it's horrible. When you have Randy O'Neal as your ace, you know you're doing something wrong with your money. They do have Mike Boddicker hanging in there. Well, we'll take a look here. There's Randy O'Neal, Detroit Tiger. We traded him over here. And, he's not horrible based on what we saw last year from him, but he can't be your ace. Mike Boddicker, 15-7. That's solid. David Palmer, I got to update his card. Something's wrong there, but let me just make a note of that. Sorry. So David Palmer I got to fix. But anyway, he's been in Montreal. They signed him as a free agent for big money they don't even have. And he's their number 3 starter. He was 10-17 last year for Montreal. Don Welchel. This is a guy that probably shouldn't be in the majors. Maybe should be in AA. He's really bad. And they don't have a choice. And then this guy, Randy Jones, a guy that was out of baseball by 1983, still holding on. He went 6-13 last year. He's well beyond his expiration date. 7.89 ERA, more walks than strikeouts, and yet he's making, in his last year, $1.5 million. They can't trade him, and if they cut him, it would take up more money than they have. They couldn't do it. So this guy has to get paid, and he's killing this team. In fact, let's see here. Okay, yeah. So O'Neill and Welchel are both on, minor league, major league minimum deals. So that's rough. That is rough. But it is fun to have watched. If you're someone who's watched this series from the beginning, you probably remember when he got traded over here from San Diego, and then we constantly made fun of him. As I do my deep dives on starting pitchers in the beginning of the year, he's always a fun one to talk about because he was a Cy Young Award winner. It's insane to think about, and he didn't even strike out 100 batters that year. Bruce Sutter is their closer. Now they do have a pretty good bullpen, and he continues to pitch well. Bruce Sutter. There's Pete Ladd, a great year from him. Luis De Leon, Jeff Schneider, Sammy Stewart, and then we look at the minor league system. This is all they have. Stoddard, Rainier in AAA, Bankhead in AA, and a bunch of Schlubbersons in Single A. This Mike Gardner, at least, I guess Mike Perez too. Jeff Nelson and Remlinger. At least they all have max ratings in the 80s. And don't be surprised if you see some of these guys get called up like almost immediately. When you have 1, 2, 3 relievers below 80, these guys probably won't stick around too long. This is a bad team. I mean, there's Mike Boddicker and Bruce Sutter. And if the game was smart, they would trade these guys for, multiple schlubs to try to build the team and save some payroll. So, yeah, this is one team that I don't think is going to be very good. I mean, if you told me they were going to finish in last place, even below Cleveland, I would say, yeah, I guess I could see that. So good luck to Baltimore next year. It is a fun team to watch because they do spend their money so dumb, and then all of a sudden they've taken themselves out of any chance of being good. Now, a team that I'm looking at to have big time improvements is the Blue Jays. We're going to look at them next here. Let's pull up Toronto and see what they did, if anything. There we go. Okay, so we're looking at the end of the season. Jack Cusick retired. Yep, he didn't pitch at all last year. And then they gave extensions to Jim Acker, Preston Hanna, Darrell Jackson, The Bull, Greg Luzinski, Al Woods, Luis Leal, Steve Centeni, Willie Upshaw, Jerry Garvin, Dwight Bernard, Dave Tobick, John Montefusco, Steve Davis, Damaso Garcia, Tim Corcoran, Alfredo Griffin. They lost arbitration to everybody they went up against. Oh, man. So Larry Anderson, Garth Orge, and Jackson Todd. I guess they just had money to hand out because none of these guys should still be on a roster, that they lost arbitration to. They should have just cut them. And then Rick Mahler retired. He got into 3 games last year. Good for him. So, this is a weird team. But it's not so much, what they didn't do. It's what they have. We'll take a look at this team. I hope I'm right about them. We'll look at their lineup. Yeah, so what this team has done is they've promoted a lot of people, like right from Single A, brought them to the majors and said, hey, let's figure it out, And I like the way that they've put this team together. Their leadoff hitter is Ruben Amaro Jr., who still can't drink, but he's in his 3rd season as a Blue Jays right fielder. He's going to lead off. He's got some speed. He hit a lot of doubles. He's got no power whatsoever. Jeff Hewson was a rookie last year at age 19. He's 20. All these guys are young, but this is the way for them to go. Rookie third baseman Denny Gonzalez. There is a guy that has played his entire career in the Mexican League. I love the game includes Mexican League standouts, and Antonio Aguilera is one of those, and he got called up mid-season last year and put up some okay numbers. He's their left fielder. Van Snyder is their DH. Another rookie. I mean, these are all rookies. Vic Rodriguez, he's the veteran. He's 22. And, he gets the job done. I mean, he's a solid player. Good defensively. You probably never heard of this guy before. He was on the Orioles in 85. That's the 85 Donruss card there. There's Lloyd. He's 24. He's a veteran. In 1983, he had those 30 home runs because left-handed hitters in Exhibition Stadium had a 100% more likely chance to hit home runs in that stadium. And you may remember he had a 3 home run ball game against us. He ended it with 30. Now he came down to earth. This is more what he's likely to do. Have more doubles, have less home runs. But that was cool when that happened. And then their catcher is Terry McGriff, the Crime Dog's brother. He was a rookie last year. And then Willie Upshaw. I guess he's the true veteran. This is the 1985 Donruss big cards. I think these were all-star cards or whatever, but that's the supersized cards. That's a nice-looking card. And anyway, he's their first baseman, and he deserves to get... he should be their cleanup hitter, I mean, realistically, but the game doesn't recognize that. So, this is a team that's definitely improving. I mean, Denny Gonzalez is an 85. Look at the maxes here. Okay, Antonio Aguilera, not probably going to happen. And then you look at their bench, and it's the same old schlubs. There's Rick Bossetti. There's Garth Orge. There's Omar Marino. We like him. Steve Davis is the backup shortstop, and Kevin Paisley will be their backup catcher. They re-signed the Bull only to put him in AAA. So that's ridiculous. He should be their DH. That guy will hit you 30 home runs just by accident. There's Alfredo Garcia and Alfredo Griffin and Damaso Garcia. I mean, those are reliable players with terrible ratings. Double A's, George Bell. I mean, he never got a shot in this. Warren Cromartie's almost out of the league. Roy Howell, you could say the same. So they don't spend any money in their minor league system. All these guys are dying on the vine. Rico Rossi, not great. Stan Javier, got a chance. Look at all the single A guys that they called up last year to give a chance. There's Rich Rowland, good, backup catcher type. Doug Strange, utility infielder, could play anywhere. Chris Zabo, but his rating is bad. Jeff Blauser, that guy's had a great career. Lance Johnson, I mean, he's only a max 80. There's Jose Oquendo. Chad Kruger. Whoa, keep going, man. They have a huge single-A team here. There's David Segui, Derek Lee, Darren Fletcher. Come on. So they've got a lot of players. They have a lot of names. I don't know if they'll ever make it to the majors because Toronto doesn't spend their money, on improving their minor league system. But this is a team that I can already just look at offensively and say, hey, they are way better than Baltimore, and give some of these guys 500 at-bats, and we'll see what they do. They definitely have speed. Maybe they don't have a ton of power. And Exhibition Stadium, left-handers are 6% more likely to hit home runs now. And triples in that stadium are the best, 39%, best in the American League, 39% more likely to get a triple. And with that kind of speed, that's maybe not a bad thing. Okay, we'll take a look at the pitchers. Yeah, this is where things are a little bit rough. the top of their rotation are a bunch of nobodies that are somehow finding a way to get it done in the majors here. So their number one starter is Steve Davis, a left-hander. And you can see how he's improved over the 3 seasons that he's pitched. No reason to think he's going to get worse. He's rated an 89. He's already peaked at age 24. So we'll see how he does. They won't trade him either. Second pitcher is Matt Williams, not the hitter, the pitcher. And again, showed some major signs of improvement. I think he missed some starts due to injury, but you get 214 innings from someone named Matt Williams. That's always good. There's Jimmy Key. He's just getting his first real shot last year. And he only walked 20 batters in 168 innings. So that's excellent. So there's 3 starters right there that make you feel good. And then they have Dave Stieb, which this game apparently hates. One of my all-time favorite pitchers from the 80s. And this game just has no respect for him at all. He's always injured. His health is a 70. Going into spring training, we haven't even done spring training yet. So there might still be some injuries and stuff that'll happen. But yeah, that's a bad sign. And the number 5 starter is Luis Leal, who lost 18 games last year. That's not what you want. But these were all pitchers who were pitching in the major leagues in real life in 1985. Their closer is Jim Acker. He had 22 saves last year. Solid pitcher. There's Barry Jones. He was a rookie. We have Don Gordon. Mark Eichhorn. He was a submarine pitcher, right? So there's Eichhorn. Preston Hanna. I have no idea how this guy is still pitching in the majors. He was out of baseball by 1982. But on the Blue Jays, he's still got a shot. Jim Clancy. Oh, we're down in the AAA team now. So yeah, Jim Clancy could be a starter. Ratings are terrible. There's the Count. Darrell Jackson, Steve Centeni pitched really well in relief last year. Dwight Bernard, they re-signed. Garvin, there's Dave Tobick. Jackson Todd still holding on. But we go deeper into the minor league system here. Jeff Ballard got a call-up last year, did not do well. Jim Gott. Hey, there's Randy Myers. Oh, the game doesn't respect Randy Myers either. So Randy Myers hadn't even pitched in the majors yet in real life. He's only 22. He might have pitched in 85, but he's already toast. This is not going to go from a 74 to a 90. It's a 74, and it's only going to get worse. So, Randy Myers will never get a chance in this ball game. That's a bummer. So they have a big 3, and Dave Stieb and Luis Leal, and I think Jimmy Key is going to definitely improve on 11 wins. So this is a team that's definitely going to finish 4th. I don't think they're going to do better than that, but they're a pretty solid team. So I don't know. I feel like in a couple years they're going to be great. Okay, now we're going to look at the Milwaukee Brewers. We have the Brewers, Cleveland, and then we're going to spend some time on Detroit. The Brew Crew, this is a team that did everything right and then did everything wrong. Let's take a look at the Brewers transactions. I'll explain what I mean. There's the Brew Crew. Okay, so after the season ended, man, they got Teddy Higuera too, by the way. John Flynn retired. That guy. You never heard of him? He's never heard of himself. We've got Jaime Kokenauer, Pat Underwood, Bob Scooby, Fred Holdsworth, Dick Davis, Ike Hampton, all re-signing. Doug Jones wins his arbitration. There's a couple Gold Glovers in there. Bob Scooby in center, Randy Azador. And then they signed Dave Rucker, Detroit Tiger. We had to let him go. I don't like to pay for relievers. And he had a great year for us last year. Sad to see him go, but he signed with the Brew Crew. That's their only free agent signing. And then they take Randy Azador, just won the Gold Glove, and they trade him to Seattle for Tommy Shields, Scott Livingstone, and Steve Olin. Here's Randy Azador. All the guy does is get on base. .356 on base percentage. He walks a ton, hits home runs, and now he's on a team that's got a ton of power. So they lose a third baseman. He wasn't great defensively, but he does have a lot of power, and I don't know where they're going to find that. And now, to explain further about what I was saying about this team, as we flip over to 85, they had no transactions this year so far. So let's go to their team. This is a team that did what Toronto is doing now, and that's just basically call up everybody from the minor leagues and let them play. And they've done that, and then they traded everybody away. And now they have a second wave of minor league players coming up, like Dante Bichette and Mark McGuire. So it's not like they don't have power. They traded Azador away to give Lenny Harris a job, it looks like. That's a pretty good idea. This team actually looks really good if you look at their numbers here and extrapolate it. So let's start it off with Mike Felder, left fielder. Well, you can just see this is what he gets 110 to 115 games. It's going to steal you a lot of bases. And then batting second is Randy Reddy at second base. This is the guy that gets every day at bats. He was called up right in the beginning of 80. And, the guy's got nearly 2,000 at bats. That's insane. Hey, Dante Bichette, he got a rookie season last year. And he had 19 home runs. Didn't walk. Struck out a ton. But he's a rookie, so he's got some time to grow. There's Mark McGuire. Mark McGuire's got a 96 power. Now let's take a look at the stadium effects for Milwaukee. Oh yeah, so lefties and righties both have a 12% less chance to hit home runs at County Stadium. So I don't know what that means for Mark McGuire, if his power can overcome that. In general, lefties got a 14% chance to get more hits. And for righties, like McGuire, it's even at 100. So it's average compared to other stadiums. So Mark McGuire is going to play first base. Rick Rona, late season call-up, will be the catcher. He's got a good arm, good defensive rating. Ernie Riles got his first year as an everyday starter at short. Did okay. And there's Bob Scooby. I think he's the last of the Mohicans for the Brew Crew of that entire first round of guys that they called up. He's not even a center. He is a center fielder. The game thinks he's a first baseman, but he's actually a center fielder in real life. And he won the Gold Glove despite having a 60 rating. So the ratings don't mean anything. We already know that. If you've watched any of my games, you know that we know that's true. Oh, I'm sorry. Here's Lenny Harris getting called up from Single A, 20-year-old to play third, not great defensively. And then finally, Dick Davis, out of baseball by 83, but still a DH for this team. And he can play in left field with a 99 or play first base with a 94. And they're DHing like what could be their best defensive player. Oops, doesn't make sense. Okay, let's look at their bench. Speaking of players who are no longer in the league, Ike Captain was out of baseball by 1979, and he is still getting backup catching duties, and they've signed him through next year too. And that's ridiculous. Like, it's just dumb. But in a weird way, I like that about this game, where some players will get a chance to have longer careers, Like, that's interesting to me. Terry Lee rated as 63. There's Gorman Thomas holding on for dear life. Craig Graybeck, Has he played yet? No, so he's called up to be a utility infielder, and that guy can play anywhere, except for center field and catcher. So that is a great guy to have on your team. And Greg Tubbs, fourth outfielder. We take a look here at their minor league system. I mean, they have just people barely holding on. None of these guys are going to get you hot and heavy. Todd Benzinger got some opportunities last year when before McGuire took over, and he did okay. Ray Stevens, why is he not above Ike Hampton? I don't know. Maybe because Hampton's a switch hitter. I have no idea. But Ray Stevens hit 10 home runs last year, and he's in Double-A. I can't tell you why the game does the things it does. They do have Craig Biggio in Double-A. He is a second baseman in this game. I know he was called up as a catcher, but he did start more games at second base, and I guess that's held down now by Randy Reddy. He's got a 79. Biggio's got a 78. So look for a switch there before the end of the year. Biggio will probably surpass him and get a chance. I mean, there's Mark Grace, another good first base option. They probably should trade him away. And we saw that they traded for Scott Livingstone. So I don't really know what to think. I kind of need to see a full season of McGuire and Bichette in the middle of this lineup. And if, Felder can get on base, they're going to drive in some runs. I could make a better lineup than this, for sure, with the players that they have. They probably would score more runs, but this is what they have. And I feel like this is a team that's better than Baltimore, but I don't know. Maybe I'm overshooting it. They're probably right there with Baltimore and Toronto. Let's look at their pitchers. So the Brew Crew have the reigning Cy Young Award winner. That's Teddy Higuera. Has he won back-to-back Cy Youngs? No. No, I'm sorry. He won in 83. That's right. Frank Tanana won it last year. That son of a bitch. And Higuera might have won it, but he did get injured. Missed a couple starts. And he was a rookie in 85 in real life. So, he's already got 1,000 innings under his belt before he would have really made it to the majors. He's 27 years old, and he's awesome. So, good for him. Here's Rich Rodas. Yeah, their pitching staff is really bad. Jaime Kokenauer cannot stay healthy and is not particularly good when he's in there. Oh, Dave LaPointe is going to get a chance. He's not great. He was not good last year either. And Kevin Tapani is going to be their fifth starter. Got 13 starts last year. He was not good either. Ouch. There's Brian Harvey as their closer. 30 saves. There's Dave Rucker, we mentioned. He is their left-handed setup guy. We're going to miss him. I know that's going to be tough. But when we get to Detroit, you'll see what I did. Frank DiPino, longtime Milwaukee Brewer. Since the inception, he's still there. Chuck Krim was a rookie last year. Bob Gibson, not the Bob Gibson, the other Bob Gibson, that one. Still on the team. There's Pat Underwood, former Detroit Tiger. We traded him to Milwaukee. I thought they were going to just throw him in the minors, but he's given them 3 solid seasons. And then we get to the minor league team. Now, this is the craziest minor league team I've ever seen. They're still holding on to Bill Travers. In fact, he's good for one more year after this. He was out of baseball by 81. He still pitches when people get injured. I can't wait to see him get into a ball game. He's only 32 years old, which is not that old, right? But even in 81, he looked like he was, done. In fact, in the 81 season in our sim, he didn't even pitch. But he's hanging in there. Got to give him credit. And then Fred Holdsworth, talk about hanging in there. What is this guy doing? He got 99. This guy should not be getting 99 innings That's ridiculous. And so they got a bunch of schlubs still holding on. There's Jim Slayton, Mark Ciardi. There's Bobby Thigpen. I mean, he could help out anybody's team. Terry Matthews, Steve Olin, who they just traded for. That is a rating of an 86 is good. Gene Harris, Tomlin, and then they have Brian Clutterbuck, who will go right into the starting rotation when he's healthy. He's going to miss the first 22 days of this regular season, and then he'll get called up, and he will probably knock out Kokenauer. I don't know. He's got the lowest rating. Yeah. So I mean, this pitching staff is terrible. Other than Harvey and Rucker, the bullpen is bad. And other than Teddy Higuera, there's no one you can trust. There's no track record there for any of those guys. And their 6th and 7th starters are terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So not a lot of hope there for Milwaukee. I like their offense. I mean, this is a team that could probably still finish in 6th place in the division. They might finish as high as 5th, but that's all you can hope for this team. They probably have a high draft pick, so maybe that'll help them. But I don't really get too excited about Milwaukee. I used to, because they had such an interesting team. But now I don't know. Now talk about sad sack teams. This is a team that makes my eyes burn when we look at them here. Here are the Indians. And we'll take a look and see what they did here at the end of the year. They did a lot of stuff, apparently. Tom Brennan retired. He did get into one game before he was shown the door. Let's see. They re-signed Carl Pagel for a year, Len Barker for 3 years. Their closer, they signed for another year. Mike Parat, 2 more years. Stanton, 2 more years. Calhoun, Bobby Cuellar. Tom Brookins got signed for another year. These are all like little deals. Jamie Easterly, Jerry Turner, Bo Diaz, Rob Wilfong, Tom Verizor. Then they lost arbitration to Von Hayes. That's probably their best hitter. And they won arbitration versus the Dibber. Mike Champion, Larry McCall, that's the guy that gives up all the home runs. And Bob Ochinko. Then Bob Alietta retired. He's a catcher. And Gary Gray last played in 83. Had 10 home runs. And that was it. He peaked and he was gone. And then they made a trade. They traded their rookie third baseman, who had a pretty good year for a guy coming out of Double-A. He got traded to Seattle. Wait till we get to the American League West. See what Seattle's doing over there. And in return, the Indians got Tony Chance, a single-A player with potential, and Dave Otto, a potential starter. I don't know. I mean, I would have stuck with Steve Springer on a rookie contract. So let's find out who they have at third base. And pardon me here while I take a little drink of my tea. I knew this video was going to be long. I appreciate those of you who stuck with it. Okay, thank you. Who's their third baseman? Oh, it's Chuck Jackson. Hey, that's my name. I'm playing third base. Let's take a look here at the lineup. Tony Fernandez was a rookie last year for the Indians, and he's leading off. Carl Pagel, an Indian mainstay, always good for a few home runs and tons of walks. His career on-base percentage is .352. That's kind of amazing. Mike Stanley's their catcher. First year last year. Corey Snyder, first year last year, 26 home runs. 105 RBI, did not win the Rookie of the Year. Mike Young now will take over left field. There's Von Hayes, the best hitter on the team, putting up good numbers, stealing bases. He must have got injured last year, I don't remember. And there's Chuck Jackson, coming up from single A ball, 4 years in single A. That ought to do it. He's 21. He's going to take over at third. Not great defensively. Not much of a hitter. He does have speed. I have no idea what that, I mean, I don't know what they're thinking there. Juan Bonilla still holds the everyday job at second base for the Indians. And Dave Gallagher's in center? Yeah, okay, Dave Gallagher. He is their center fielder. Another rookie last year. Then we look at their bench. There's the Bandalorian. He batted .310. He's going to back up Mike Stanley. The Dibber lost his job. He was a shortstop, got 145 at-bats. Lost it to Tony Fernandez. That makes sense. Eric Fox. That's their fourth outfielder who had 14 home runs. Can't find a job. Jeff Moronco and Jim Wilson. At one point, I thought was going to be the Rookie of the Year in 1982. Batted .315, and they sent him down to the minors. That was weird. Okay, now we'll take a look here at the schlubs. Oh, this is the schlubbiest schlubbershins we've ever seen. Look at these guys. These are all guys. There's Thomas Howard. How is this guy not on the team? He was only 19. Batted .297. You can't use a .297 player? Yeah, I mean schlubs. Oh, they're so schlubby. I mean, is there anybody good? Ron Jones, David Rode, Mike Benjamin, rated in 87, John Orton. There's Billy Ripken, Jeff Fry, Archie Cianfranco. I mean, the answer is no. But like these guys could take over for some of these guys. This is a tough-looking team here. I guess they have made strides, at least bringing up the rookies last year, getting an idea of what they have to offer. This team is probably going to finish in last place, but not because of their hitting. It's going to be because of their pitching. Take a look at this crap. So what did the Indians do? They went out and signed the biggest free agent on the market, and that's Alan Ramirez. I don't know why the game doesn't show the players that they lost to free agency. But and this didn't show them signing. There's a glitch going on with this game right now. I don't know. This should have shown Alan Ramirez signed as a free agent. They signed him for $3 million. And this is a pitcher that's on the decline. You can see why the Orioles could not afford to re-sign him. He was out of baseball by this year in real life, as this is his last card. But, yeah, so that's a big gamble. But I mean, that's a 500 pitcher at best. Then they got Roy Smith. I can't tell you what he's capable of. He got 20 starts last year. So. There's John Denny, another, hanger on. He's making $1 million for a couple more years. That money could be better spent. But, he probably should be your ace. Len Barker, they just gave a couple more year contract. He's, a 5 ERA pitcher. I mean, it's not great. But he's signed through 87. And Eric Wilkins, who, man, just for a minute, I thought he was going to be a big-time gamer in this. But he got injured in 82. 83, he did nice work. And then last year he was bad. And this year he's probably going to be bad. But for a minute, just for a minute, I thought Eric Wilkins might be the guy. But that's their starting rotation. At least he's still in there. Their closer is going to be Jeff Barkley. Got called up in 1980 for 11 games when he was 20. Then we never saw him again until last year when he became the closer. That's weird. This was their longtime closer, Victor Cruz. They just re-signed him to the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw him get the closer role. He's got a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. That's what I like about him. Tom Waddell. Scott Bales was a rookie last year. Rich Thompson, a rookie. Ramon Romero, first time really getting an opportunity. Oh man, and then we got to look at our AAA team. Here's Wayne Garland. He is still holding on in his final year of the 10-year contract that he signed, which is what happened in real life when Baltimore let him go. He signed a 10-year deal, never finished it. He was bad last year. I almost want to see him pitch, see what he does now. But yeah, he gave up in 82. I don't even remember if he pitched in 82 in real life. But nonetheless, that's pretty much it for him. He is in AAA. You know, they've got nothing but schlubs. You know, they've been in the cellar for so long. They've got to have good guys coming up. So we traded them Chuck Finley? No? Wait. Yeah, I don't remember what we got in return. But yeah, Chuck Finley was on our team. But yeah, he's pretty much below. I mean, he's below league average. That sucks. Mark Portugal's not good. Alan Anderson. The only thing I can say is that maybe once we actually get to opening day, we get through spring training, maybe the assortment of money, the allotment of money will change and they'll spend more money and you'll see some of these numbers go up because these guys don't have a chance. John Burkett probably should be in the rotation. Alan Anderson. There's Kevin Ritz. Juan Guzman. Wild Thing. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys here that shows that they have like some potential, but I don't know. I guess they're they signed these other guys for a couple more seasons. I guess they're trying to wait for them to, improve in the minors. This is the last place team. This is the worst rotation in the league, in our division anyway. I guess we have to wait and see how the American League West sorts itself out, but that's a pretty rough team. Okay, now we're going to do Detroit. This is what everyone's been waiting for. What did I do to my team in the offseason? I did a bunch of stuff. I don't know if it's even going to show it all. All right. Well, we re-signed our closer, Dave Smith. I don't like giving relievers money, but we had to make a decision. And I signed Dave Smith. I re-signed Keith Comstock. Glenn Wilson was awarded arbitration. Terry Kennedy and Alan Trammell won Gold Gloves. And then we look at 85. And I re-signed Frank LaCourte to a major league minimum deal. And I brought back Shotzi. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good what I did. Let's take a look at the lineup. All right, here's our boys. I don't know what the opening day lineup is going to look like exactly, but we didn't have a lot of money to work with. I had to make one call, and I gave all the money in a wheelbarrow to Dave Smith. So here's our team. Leading off is going to be Willie Wilson. Came over in a trade last year. Had 36 stolen bases, batted .280, played great defense. He's 29 years old, and we like him a lot. Alan Trammell will likely bat second. He had a decent year. All he does is do consistent work. He's 7 hits shy from 1,000. He plays great shortstop. He won the Gold Glove. I mean, he's good. Then we've got George Brett, and he'll be in his second full year. We love George Brett. I know it's weird if you're just following this and finding out that Willie Wilson and George Brett is on Detroit. But this was the right call. George Brett batted .302, drove in 81 runs, 16 homers. Tiger Stadium, for left-handed bats, has a 52% more likely chance to hit a home run Okay, so that is the best in the American League. Now, right-handed bats have a 13% chance to hit more home runs. So maybe Brett's home run total will go up. There's Gibby. Gibby had a career year for us, 28 home runs as a left-hander. He's probably going to hit a few more. Batted .290. I think he was our team MVP. We got Kenny Smith. Came out of the gate on fire, and then he just completely died. He only had 23 home runs as our DH, an occasional first baseman. He did have 97 walks. He was almost the first player I've ever had get 100 walks in a season. That's never happened. But he'll get another chance. Terry Kennedy took the job away from my large adult son, Lance Parrish, and we gave him all the at-bats, and he did well. He batted .310, won the Gold Glove, had 35 doubles. It broke my heart to get rid of Lance Parrish, but I did what I had to do, and it worked out. We got to the World Series. Doug Baker. Oh, wait, is this my lineup? Doug Baker, is he going to be my third baseman? I guess he is. Oh, boy. So Doug Baker will be the everyday third baseman for us. He is good defensively. He batted .284 in 200 at-bats. If he can extrapolate that over a season at third, I would be very happy with that. There's Glenn Wilson, had the biggest drop-off of any player that I think we've ever had. I mean, he went from batting .287 with 24 home runs and 93 RBI to batting .227 with 12 home runs. Still drove in 84. So he lost the power, and he lost the bat. He had an on-base percentage of .264. I mean, just not a good year. But he is our right fielder. He's very good defensively. He's got a great arm, great defensive rating. And then there's Sweet Lou. Lou got injured last year, and it really hurt the team in the middle of the season. He had a big drop-off, too. He went from .275 to .244, 26 home runs. He didn't even get to double digits. So I think Lou will probably bounce back this year. Then we'll take a look here at our bench. We got Barry Larkin. We got him 72 at-bats last year. He can't play third. I know he's a shortstop. So he's a shortstop in waiting, really, or a good piece of trade bait. Rusty Tillman, we got from the Mets in a deal, and he actually played really well for us. Batted .289, 3 home runs. Played good in the playoffs. Kevin Bass is our fourth outfielder. He can play anywhere in the outfield, and he's got a good bat. So we like Kevin Bass. That's the 85 Fleer card if you've never seen it. There's Marty Party Castillo. He's going to be the backup catcher. He will get more at-bats this year than he's ever had in his life. He's got a 90 arm, 90 defensively, great fielding, good range. I mean, I don't really care what he does with his bat. We call him up every year at the end of the year. But with Lance Parrish gone, the job is his. And then we look at our minor league guys, starting with Jeff Stone. I mean, Jeff Stone could make the team. I'm not sure if I'm going to go with a deeper bench or more bullpen arms. But he didn't do as good as I thought he was going to do last year. We'll take a look at him. Kind of a late season call-up, a little bit disappointing. Not really great defensively. Then we've got the schlubs, like everybody else, Eddie Miller, Mike Pagliarulo, Bobero, Jeff Datz, Rich Gedman, all in AAA. AA, we've got Craig Wilson, Ricky Jordan, Mike McFarland, who could be the catcher of the future. Shane Turner, Mike Ryle, and then in Single A, last year we drafted Chris Hoyles, Matt Williams, the good Matt Williams, third baseman. So maybe we're just trying to save the third base job for Matt Williams whenever he's ready. Jeff Conine and Sandy Alomar, the catcher. Now, like I said, this is the last year that I'm going to play this and make videos. I'm going to continue this series on my own for fun, and maybe I'll update it on the Brainiac Baseball Facebook page for people from time to time. So I do have a future plan, but this is our lineup for our final year. And I'm sure there'll be trades throughout the season. But now this is where things get kind of mucky. We lost Jack Morris, and our ace now is Dan Petrie. And Petrie finally had a fantastic year. We've been waiting for him. He's just been terrible. Last year he broke out, and then he got injured for the rest of the year. It was terrible. This year he got to play the full year, pitched over 200 innings for the first time, and was by and large solid. And now he's our ace. I don't feel great about that, but I love Dan Petrie, and I'm glad to have him on the team. And he's only 26 years old. And he's not a free agent until next year. So we're good. Number 2 pitcher is Bert Blyleven. Bert has done nothing but let us down every year due to injuries. He started out great in '83, got injured for the rest of the year, started out okay last year, got injured for the rest of the year. His health rating is a 73. So he's not going to be around, and we're paying him through next year. So we have to get him through this year, one more year before we maybe just cut him, because his overall rating is a 73. He is our number 2 pitcher, and I don't feel good about that. Number 3 is Brian Kelly. What a great surprise he's been. I mean, the guy just goes out there and just fires fastballs. He's so good. I never would have thought he'd be this good. We gave him 31 starts. We kind of managed his innings. But I think it's time to take the training wheels off this year. And he's proven that he's solid. He went 13-5, 3.40 ERA. So he's our number 3 pitcher, and I think that is good. Number 4 is Dave Rozema. Rosie, we've been trimming his innings back every year. He is a 5-inning starter at best. He probably should be in the bullpen, but I don't know what else to do. He's making a ton of money this year. We can't really cut him. It's his final year of his deal. And I guess we have to give him a shot to start. And if he's just terrible, then we got to put him in the bullpen. That's disappointing. And then finally, our 5th starter is going to be Jeff Robinson. We brought him up about mid-year. He went 7-4 with a 3.08 ERA. Didn't walk hardly anyone. Opponent's batting average was great. I mean, this is a guy that I hope is real. Like, I hope these numbers, the results are real, because we need a guy like that right now. He even pitched well in the World Series. So he had 1 start, 1 game in relief, and he did well. I mean, he walked 5 batters. That's not great. So that is our rotation. Our closer is going to be Dave Smith. There he is. He pitched well. He did blow some saves. But, you know what? Like, we have to have somebody. And if we had let him go with Dave Rucker both, I think we would have been in real trouble. And we still may be. It's only a 2-year deal through next year. He's 30 years old. You know, we'll see what happens. There's Jeff Montgomery. He's going to be our closer of the future. We just didn't get enough of him to know if he was capable of taking over. But Jeff Montgomery will probably be the closer after the 86 season. And he's going to be our setup man. Here's Keith Comstock. All this guy has done is be a schlub and come in and absolutely crush it every year, with the exception of 1981 in the strike-shortened year. He's just been great. And as long as we don't pitch him too much, he's effective. He only walked 9 guys in 47 innings. And he strikes out a ton of batters. So we signed him to a 1-year extension, and I don't know. Why not? We'll see what he does. Then we got Gumpy Gumpert. After a bad 83, he came back last year and was super solid, reliable, and I feel like I don't have to worry about him. He's okay. And Paul Gibson, yes, he is known as the Creeper. Paul Gibson, left-handed arm, pitched really well for us. Um, yeah, I mean, he gave us a good season. I don't know what else to say about him. He doesn't have much of a fastball, but he comes in, gets the job done. And then Carl Willis, we actually had him last year out of spring training, and he did bad. We had to bring him back toward the end of the year to get that ERA down. But he did not do well, and I don't know what to expect from him. But he's a right-handed arm with 95 control. He had one walk in 16 innings in 83, and then he had 11 walks in 30 innings. So I don't know which the real Carl Willis is, but he will get the shot. And speaking of shot, there's Dan Schatzeder, former Tiger. We traded him to Oakland, and he's my only free agent signing from another team. And I just like Schatzeder, and he's a left-handed arm. He'll be the first out of the pen. He could also spot start if we really needed him to. He's probably not going to last the whole year, but he's just barely getting paid above the major league minimum. And if he sucks, we can cut him. Now we look at the rest of the minor league pitching system here. Look, we got David Cone. He got one start last year after 18 starts in AAA. David Cone could be in the rotation, but where is the spot for him? We need Blyleven to get injured, or we need Dave Rozema to fail at that nearly $1 million a year payroll that he's got. Sherman Corbett did a good job late season call-up. Danny Jackson did not do a good job. He walked a ton. I don't like left-handed starters anyway. I thought after his first go-around in 83, he was going to be awesome. He was not awesome. So we'll start him out in AAA and see if he can't make it to the team. Frank LaCourte was signed to a major league contract, so we'll see what he does in spring training. If he's good, I'll replace Carl Willis with him. He did really good as a midseason free agent signing last year, and he deserved to get another contract. But if we don't give him the major league spot, we have to cut him. So keep that in mind. And then in AA, we have, some highly rated opportunities here. Vicente Palacios, Mark Leiter. There's Tom Glavine. We're not ready for him yet. Mike Timlin. Some other guys. So, I don't feel great about our rotation, especially Blyleven and Rozema. But we're going to give them an opportunity to show us what they can do. The most we can hope for is Blyleven's good until he gets injured, and then we can bring up Coney or give Dan Schatzeder a few starts until we're ready to give Cone the full-time job, or Danny Jackson. That's what we have to look forward to. That's our team. Is it worthy of repeating in first place? I don't know. We don't have a real third baseman. We had some troubles with injuries last year. I've went and we look at our budget here. We're fifth ranked in all the major budget categories: farm system, scouting, and medical. But our salaries are 21st. I can't spend any more money than that. Otherwise, we're going to finish in the red. We could make a trade. We could try to make things happen as the season progresses. Right now we're slated to start against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, come home to the Twins. You see the schedule here. So it's going to be Dan Petrie versus Bob Tewksbury on opening day, so far as I see it. That's going to do it for the American League East preview. I hope that was entertaining and informative. If you stuck around all the way to the end, you are awesome. Thank you so much for spending your time with me on this channel. We are still wrapping up the 1970 Seattle Pilots what-if scenario. We've got another 8 games to go there if you're looking for something to watch for now. Otherwise, we're going to come back with the American League West preview soon, and then we'll do the National League divisions as well. before we start with the regular season. So that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. Like and or subscribe, and we'll be back. Until then, everyone, have a great day.